Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm Ella Baff, Executive and Artistic Director of The Pillow. Welcome here. These are the first performances in the United States ever of Danza Abierta. And it's quite an amazing story to get them here, and I'll write the book someday. I am so glad that you're here for this event. I went to Havana over a year ago and I saw maybe 30 companies in 5 days. But I was alert enough to really see that this company was something special and that I had to bring them to Jacob's Pillow. So it's a marvelous, marvelous ensemble, and also they interact with different visual realities during the piece, so it has a really marvelous kind of visual world that they create for you, as well as in the sound score. I'm so pleased that you came to the Pillow to see the US debut of Danza Abierta. I'm sure that you will want to stay after the show and meet the artists and welcome them to the United States. Thanks so much. Let's dance.
emociones que se van desatando. Te juro que a veces me asusto de ver que te has ido adueñando de mí, que ya no soporto el deseo de estar junto a ti. Tú no sospechas estas furias inmensas que me dominan cada vez que te acercas. Y aunque no ha habido intención en ti de provocar lo que siento, te vas a enterar de una vez de que ya te quiero. Te quiero. Tú no sospechas estas furias inmensas que me dominan cada vez que te acercas. Y aunque no ha habido intención en ti de provocar lo que siento, te vas a enterar de una vez de que ya te quiero.
We invite you to remain in the audience for a post-performance discussion. Thank you.
Look how many people. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maura Keefe. I'm one of the scholars in residence here, and I get to conduct this post-talk, which is a delight for me. The way it works is I get to ask the first few questions. I'll open it up for some of your questions, which I'm going to repeat. Let me introduce Susana Pous, the choreographer of tonight's performance.
Thank you.
And the artistic director of the company, Guido Galli. And I have to please ask you to also applaud Dora Quintanilla for me, because she'll be helping with translation as we need it. So thank you, Dora. So I try to keep these emotions under wraps sometimes, but I love this show. Thank you very much for bringing it to us. And I'm so happy that
We are very happy to be here, really. It's a pleasure.
So you may have noticed from reading Susana's bio that not only did she train as a dancer, she also has a degree in filmmaking. And I wanted to ask you about that first, because it feels like those two parts of your background are so important to this work. You worked with Ex Alfonso on the images, but could you just talk about your concept in bringing the filmic and the choreographic together?
Okay. Susana, ella quiere saber cuál es la relación entre tu carrera en el film y tu carrera como en la danza, y cómo es que la conexión entre X Alfonso y tú llegó a suceder.
Bueno, mi conexión con el cine, realmente a mí lo que más me interesaba es la actuación. Y cuando entro en la escuela de cine, estudio la carrera también de dirección por una cuestión de curiosidad, porque me gustaba el mundo de la imagen.
She got into film because she wanted to be an actor. And she got also the curiosity about learning a little bit about directing. So that's how she got into the whole filming.
Do you think, Susana, there's a relationship between directing for film and choreographing for dancers?
Yes.
Well, one of the things that's so striking for me in seeing this is that you've intentionally put the dancers in grayscale or black and white, and that the film is in color. And could you talk about that?
You got the question?
Yo quería hablar de dos mundos, el mundo real y el mundo del sueño, el mundo subjetivo.
She wanted to talk about two different worlds, the real world or the physical world, and the subjective or idealistic world as well.
Y hubiera sido más sencillo realmente usar el color en la vida real y el blanco y negro en las imágenes, pero ahí estaba el reto, tratar de quitar el color para el escenario y usar el color para las imágenes.
So the easiest way to do this would have been if the color was in the real world and the black and white in the images, but she wanted the challenge and a little bit more on the creation process, so that's why she switched it, and the color was in the images and the dancers.
Quizás a veces el mundo del sueño y de lo subjetivo supera la realidad, ¿no? Y puedes fantasear.
Sometimes the magical or subjective worlds surpasses and overpass the real world.
So, Guido, could you say what it was like for you when she came to you with this idea of, I've got this idea, there's going to be film, and a big idea for an artistic director to be approached with?
The first time that Susana started making choreographies, can you hear? Well, the first time that Susana came to me...
No.
Oh.
No se oye.
Okay. The first time that Susana came to Guido,
con la idea de hacer una coreografía, fue hace 4 años.
it was 4 years ago that Susana came to Danza Abierta with this idea.
No, I mean, Susana has been working with us for over 12 years, but she was always working as a dancer and a teacher. Then, there was one situation in Danza Abierta when I became artistic director that the former director of the company and founder director, Marianela Wang, she came to the United States, and then we stay alone by ourselves there, and I was her assistant and the dramaturgy advisor, which is actually my real job in the company. Well, I had to take the job as the artistic director, and Susana, who was a dancer and teacher, was the most experienced in that time of all the dancers. She started doing choreographies. She started with one piece, which had videos as well. ¿Qué se puede esperar cuando se está esperando? Well, it's
That's the
very
title.
complicated
That's the
name.
title.
Very
yeah.
complicated. Yeah.
We did this piece and then 2 years later, we decided to do this piece. Everything started with one image, I remember. We never used to work with characters or stories. We used to play with sensations.
So you're saying as a company that using kinds of ideas of people or story or narrative was not something that you were so familiar with as a company, more about sensation or movement ideas?
Yeah, we always, our pieces always are a sort of answer to our situation as artists, as Cubans, as people in our society.
You're never going to ignore that, no matter what kind of dance you're
impossible.
making. Yeah.
And then, I remember with this piece, we started with one image of, the image in the Malecón, in the wall by the sea in Havana. Susana was thinking about this image. Then we were thinking about other images, and then suddenly we started working, and we could build this, the piece in that way.
So as for the dancers, you count on the sort of the room being stable when you're dancing and you moving, but then all of a sudden you've put the room in motion a little bit, especially when the image is on the floor. A challenge for the dancers to perform in that environment?
I don't know, I never asked them before.
Sí, les es impresionante. No,
We never thought about it.
Okay. Cuando trabajábamos las imágenes con el director de imagen, que es X Alfonso, el mismo que compuso la música, que es mi esposa, de paso lo puedes decir.
So when they started working with the images and with X, that is actually her husband, that it's also the composer of the music, they started playing with the images.
Realmente no tuvimos recursos nunca
They
hasta el
didn't have the
momento que íbamos a
resources.
estrenar la pieza en el teatro para ver qué iba a pasar.
They didn't have the resources to rehearse with the images, so they didn't know what was going to happen.
Entonces fue una sorpresa para todos.
It was a total surprise.
Yo gritaba y lloraba en los asientos.
She will, when rehearsal, she will like scream and cry from the audience because she just couldn't.
Y los bailarines descubrían el cielo en sus pies, o sea que se sorprendían.
So when they were finally dancing with the images, dancers right there discover and figure it out that the clouds were right there on their feet. So
Y fue mágico realmente.
it was a total magical moment.
Well, I thank you for leading me right to that, because that is my next question. I feel like we get such a sensation of flying in that section with the sky that is totally enhanced by all of the dancers. So the sky is moving, but also having all of the dancers be moving. When did you start experimenting with that idea of flying?
Cuando empecé el trabajo coreográfico, una de las cosas que me gustó buscar un poco los retos, ¿no? Yo les pregunté cuáles eran sus sueños y cuáles eran sus miedos.
When she started with the whole images and starting to create the piece, she went to the dancers and asked them what were their challenges and what were their fears and what were their dreams.
Y uno de los miedos grandes que tenía la bailarina que hace la escena del sueño es que tiene mucho miedo a las alturas y a volar.
So the dancer, one of the
El del vuelo, la escena del vuelo.
yeah, I'm just like trying to. So one of the dancers, one of her challenge is that she's afraid of heights and afraid of.
Es la chica que
So-
hace
la
las-
que se
And it's
tira.
the girl that it's doing the jumping and the flying. So, so she went over that.
Ya,
apparently.
y yo le dije que a mí me parecía muy interesante como bailarina que experimentara eso para luchar contra ese miedo que tenía y hacer la escena ella. Me hubiera sido mucho más fácil coger a otra
So
bailarina.
it was part of her choreographic process to bring this girl over that fear and over, because it would have been just as easy as to grab another of the girls and just work with that one. So it was very important also for Susana to work
For the
with,
creative
with
process to-
exactly
uh-huh,
with
to work.
that dancer.
So I also want to ask about the choice to use 5 dancers in this work, because with the partnering, it's so clear that the odd number somebody is missing, or that it could very easily have been 6 people, but you chose to use 5. Could you talk about that?
Well,
Casual.
I've been maybe I mean, I remember that once we were talking about 6. I mean, in the company we used to use before 6 dancers. I mean, we have more dancers in the company. I mean, we are a very
Not
small
much.
company, but we are now we have 11.
9. Bueno, porque yo ya
Bueno,
no
sí,
bailo.
well, yeah,
9.
yeah, well, yeah. But then when we started the piece with 6 dancers.
Yes.
And then suddenly we realized that 6 dancers are 2 groups. I mean, 5 is 1 group, but 6 is already 2 groups. In our feeling, I mean, and for us it was better to work with 5. Suddenly we like it just
It's so,
with that
so many
because
possibilities
Yeah.
emerge. Yeah. I want to just ask a little bit about the training for the dancers, and if you do daily company class, and we see such a range of movement material in this piece, which is beautifully threaded together, but how do you prepare your dancers to do this kind of work?
The dance, I mean, we always have one training especially for one piece. Susana prepared one training.
So depending on what the piece calls for, you devise teaching to support that?
Yes. I mean, normally, well, if you want, I can talk about the dancers in Cuba. I mean, normally the dancers in Cuba, they study modern dance. For us, modern dance is not exactly contemporary dance. I think that here you call modern, you use modern for
It's a little tricky. Yeah, we use, yes. yeah.
Graham or Twyla
Right, Twyla Tharp or Martha Graham.
or Kennigan or maybe Simone Forti. No, for
Right.
us not. For us, the people from the generation of the Houston Church, I mean the postmodern dance, for us they are contemporary. The people before are modern. I mean, this is in Cuba. It doesn't mean anything.
We're okay with that.
And
Good.
then, well, the dancers in Cuba, they always study modern. So that techniques of Graham and Limon with a mix of Cuban, Afro-Cuban dance. I mean, this is
So we
our...
would probably call that here classic modern dance, that then you're also doing.
Yeah. And then when they go to the companies, they always receive a training for the work that this company used to do. Because, I mean, there are several companies in Cuba, and everybody has a very different kind of work and a very different kind of training. In this I mean, in our case, in Cuba happens something that you don't have all the information that you would like to have. You don't have all the teachers that you would like to have. There are a lot of people very experienced in Cuban modern technique, but not in other techniques. So that every time that there is one interesting teacher in Cuba, we always call them to please give us a workshop. And then by the years, the training of the company has been being a mixture of a lot of different things, things that we doesn't know how appears there, but well, suddenly we have it. And then Susana always prepared the classes and the training with the things that she has been studying for years, with the things that she's learned with the
new
dancers,
ideas
with the
and
new people who are there. We always, and we work like that.
It works. We like it. I
Yeah.
think. Let me open it up for a couple of your questions about tonight's work or the company. Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, frankly, in a restrictive society like Cuba is, I'm wondering about the restrictions, because it's very easy to read into it repeating themes of either despair or flight or escape. You could see that in the work. And I'm wondering wondering if there are any restrictions or whether that was the intent of any of the.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat the question so everybody can hear and give you a chance also to hear. So the question is about, from our perspective in the United States, looking at the work, we bring in our ideas of what we think it might be like to live in a society that we consider more restricted than ours. And if that's your intention for us to see that in the work, or are you open to people bringing their own interpretations into the work?
Okay. Ella quiere saber, o la señora acá quiere saber, si tú estás mostrando o quieres mostrar esa restricción que Cuba tiene. O sea, que una sociedad como Estados Unidos puede ver la diferencia entre Cuba y entre sociedades. Pues.
Yo pienso que yo no tenía una idea concreta de mostrar nada. Yo tenía una idea de vivir una experiencia con bailarines. A partir de ahí, evidentemente, sale, es una lectura o sensaciones o sentimientos que ellos tienen. Pero no es por una intención mía, sino porque es lo que sale, ¿no?
She didn't plan at all on an idea about that was what I wanted to talk about, but as working with the dancers and going through the choreographic process, it is normal, I think, that it's going to come out because of their experiences of the dancers, because they live there and that's why they go through.
Yo les hago preguntas y les cuestiono cosas. A partir de ahí, evidentemente, las respuestas y lo que proponen es lo que ellos sienten, ¿no?
She always questions the dancers and always tries to challenge them. So from those answers is where she grabs and starts working with them into what the piece ended up being.
Susana, I also, you're originally from Barcelona, so you have lived in Havana now for almost 10 years, right?
12 years.
More, 12.
12. So you have a position as both insider and outsider to the culture, it seems like.
Yo pienso que mi imagen de Cuba es muy diferente después de que llevas unos años viviendo ahí. Te sumerges en la vida del cubano, ¿no?
Her experience from when she first started or she first moved into Cuba as of now, it has changed totally. She says that she submerges into the Cuban life. She becomes one of them. She's not an outsider anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Another question? Yes.
At one part of the performance, there was a great deal of walking, more than you're used to with either ballet or anything. Behind that concept.
So his question is about the part in the dance, and
I
I think he's.
understand.
I'm just repeating it for actually for the video. About the section where we see the dancers walking, and he's saying that in ballet or other dance forms, he's not used to that kind of pedestrian movement vocabulary. And how did it come into the work? And if you could also talk about the stairwell in the images as well.
La idea realmente surge, si se dan cuenta, una de las bailarinas empieza a subir una escalera. Yo trabajé la idea de esa subida infinita, que uno tiene que pasar trabajo y trabajo, mucho trabajo para llegar a un lugar, ¿no? Y que ella va caminando todo el tiempo, dando vueltas al mismo sitio, los bailarines también, hasta que llega a la parte de arriba, ella se asoma y ve el cielo, ¿no?
Okay.
Entonces, para mí la sensación era, bueno, te lo digo y luego, para mí esa escena era una escena en la que se veía eso, simplemente la monotonía del tirar para adelante, de no mirar para atrás y seguir para adelante,
So yeah,
caminando sin parar.
she now combined both questions about the stairwell and the walking. She said that she wanted to work with the idea of the monotony and of going to like your goal and going and working for it and keep moving and moving and more and more
no poder parar
forward
hasta
and
que
forward,
llegas.
not stopping until you open the doors and you see the sky. That is what happens over here.
Good. Another question or comment? Yes.
It was also a combination of mime and like a moving installation. And that's what I found of it as well.
Her observation is that she felt like there was some elements of mime, but also it felt like an installation, like in a museum, but it had, because of the movement, it had a different quality.
Que tienes varios motivos o pedazos en la coreografía que son que muestran la mímica y que a veces se ve o se siente que es más una instalación en un museo o que es como más, no sé, como más performance o más vivo o...
Bueno, para mí genial que se vea eso, porque realmente es mi interés total es eso, ¿no? Que está un poco abierto a que sucedan cosas en la escena y que no sea una cosa como tan coreográfica donde hay unos pasos marcados y eso es lo que se tiene que hacer. Realmente, como se ha trabajado así, a nivel es importante que expliques que los bailarines hacen muchas improvisaciones a través de las cuestiones que yo les hago. Entonces, el material que sale es el que sale y es el que yo aprovecho para...
So she says that even though the choreography is set, she always leaves this, and she's very grateful and also happy that you guys can see because the piece always changes and it's alive, and that the dancers work always in improvisation techniques and contacts and sequences that so they can always keep moving the piece around and always keep it live, not static and in a monotonous kind of situation. So with those improvisations is what she holds and uses to make the piece alive.
We have time for one last question, sir. But this is a question about that fabulous set piece. The most pragmatic, what's it made of? And also, have you used it in other work? And when did it come into the creative process here?
Cuando empecé a...
No, que de qué está hecho primero.
¿De qué está hecho? Bueno, cuando empecé a pensar en la pieza, realmente, al principio, yo me imaginé que era como una cama. Y quería una cama en la que los bailarines se estiraban, empezaban a soñar y salían las imágenes. Creamos esto y ensayando se fue convirtiendo en otra cosa porque no teníamos colchón y entonces era más duro. Y de repente nos dimos cuenta que lo podíamos usar para muchas cosas y empezó a convertirse en algo que era muy, muy importante en la pieza.
So in the beginning, she wanted a bed. She wanted a mattress. So the dancers could lay on it and stretch on it and whatever, and then start dreaming about whatever they needed to dream about. And then once, so they found it's basically styrofoam. So they found this block of styrofoam and then started working with it and realized that it was kind of hard. So the mattress situation and the mattress idea started evolving, and they realized also that with this QB, they could also start creating and using it in different ways. And
y se convirtió en un personaje más realmente.
And it became another character of the piece, totally.
And it takes on so many different
de repente era un lugar para sentarse, era un barco.
So it became a chair, it became a boat, it became
un pedazo del malecón de La Habana.
It became a piece of the shore in Havana, the wall. So it became
Pero nunca lo habíamos usado.
But it's never been used before.
Y no creo que lo usemos nunca más.
This is only for Malson. They're not going to use it for other things. It's a very special character of this piece.
Ya estamos creando una cosa nueva que es totalmente diferente. O sea
They're creating right now something totally opposite and different.
If you would like to hear more, please join us on Saturday at 4 o'clock. There's a pillow talk called Dance in Cuba, and we look forward to seeing that work when you bring it to the United States. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.